what do we think about when we hear diversity?
Different cultures.
Different cultures. What else?
Different mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that can encompass diversity, and that is just something to start thinking about. And it's never too late to think about as well. You know, I grew up in a household that really wasn't open to diversity. Was really kind of, you know, you have your own, stick with your own, and that bothered me for years and years and years. When I came to college, I was able to finally kind of break out of that shell. You know, and so, we got late stragglers, imagine that.
Sorry,
Here we are.
we're at work.
Absolutely. You want me to go in front of
Yeah.
Okay, good. There you go, Brian. All right. So, so anyway, so today what we're going to talk about is kind of how to change your mindset a little bit on diversity. If just everybody in this room can change their mindset about diversity and inclusion, we can start to branch out to our college campus, to our community. Then that branches to the state. You know, that can hit on national levels. I mean, and I fully believe that. You know, because diversity is such there's a huge issue with diversity right now in the United States, and we need to also start to expand that as well. So I have my note cards here, guys, so just bear with me. I kind of going to read from these a little bit, but diversity is simply defined as either the quality of having a state or having many different forms, types, ideas, or the state of having different races or different cultures in a group or organization. So does that make sense? Pretty simply defined as that. Webster defines it as that. But to me, it encompasses much more than that. It encompasses the idea that we are all our individual self. We must first learn how to equip ourselves and our minds with well-informed decisions, rationale, and support about that, okay? So in order to fulfill this, we have to change our mentality. We have to start thinking. We have to have something that triggers that idea, okay? Think about this in concept of eating, okay? When you're hungry, you what? Eat, okay? It's the same thing with diversity, okay? If you can have something to trigger your mind when it comes to diversity, that's going to be the key. In a little bit, we're going to talk about how I believe that we can use music to infiltrate that mindset for diversity, okay? So individuals, obviously today is Martin Luther King Day, and there's never been a bigger ally than Martin Luther King when coming to diversity. But there's so many more allies. Maya Angelou, you've got Russell Simmons. I mean, and people are in here going to go, Russell Simmons, but really Russell Simmons is a huge diversity advocate. You can look up his research, and he's done a ton for diversity advocacy. So there's a lot of different people like that we can really credit. One of my favorites is Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson really broke the barrier when it came to diversity, to that racial segregation, to all sorts of different barriers he was looking at. And again, Jackie Robinson, the movie 42. Who's seen the movie 42? Anybody seen that? Yeah, awesome movie. So in there, you see that, and he's starting to break those barriers. He's starting to come through that. But he uses a lot of different things to influence that. And so that's kind of where we need to be. We must realize that embracing a cultural diverse mindset, we are doing ourselves a massive favor and attributing to the one cause that everybody should be involved in. I found a quote on diversity here, and I really like this. It says, diversity is a future paradigm, crucial to the preservation of mankind, a mantra supporting equal rights for all people, a shift of mindset that will make you a better and happier person. So could you see that? I mean, could you see that, hey, you know what, if you were able to walk into any situation, no matter what, and have an open mind and be culturally diverse to that situation, wouldn't you feel better about yourself? Absolutely. I mean, think about that. Okay, if we would have had that same kind of mindset in some of the big issues that we've been having throughout, history, but definitely in the last few months, few years, we've been having some really big issues with diversity. If you can go into it with an open mind, I think we could have that change just a little bit. So the human race is a makeup of extraordinarily diverse characteristics. So what are some of these characteristics? Anybody? What are the characteristics that make up this diversity? Language. Not everybody speaks at once. It's okay. Ethnicity. Absolutely. Culture. Race. Socioeconomic classes. Religion. Okay. All right. So you guys are naming all of this. So gender, ethnicity, class, religion, nationality, sexuality, philosophies. These, I mean, are just absolutely endlessly beautiful to me. Okay. I mean, when they all work together, there's a really harmonious effect to that. And again, that's where I'm going to tie this music back into that harmonious, beautiful effect. But we have to remember, at the most basic levels we share, that's belonging to the human species, okay? We're the same. We belong to the human species, okay? Same here. Everybody around here belongs to the human species. And that's something that we have to remember. We have to get ourselves back to that level. We will consistently experience the highs and lows of life together. That's never going to change, okay? That is never going to change. We will always experience these highs and lows together. Though, you know, everybody in this room I have interaction with, you know, every once in a while. Again, you guys are going to know when I'm having a bad day. I'm going to know when you're having a bad day. I mean, Seth walked in today and he's like, you know, all hoarse, and I could tell, you know, he just wasn't feeling well. And that's that kind of relationship that you get. But we are not there to that level of diversity, feeling that on the diversity level yet. But we absolutely have to do that. This is probably the most important thing I'm going to say throughout this whole thing. Diversity is about existing as your own unique self. One who has never existed and one who will never exist again. Okay? It's about being yourself. And I'm going to explain that here as well in just a few minutes. We are just constantly, again, we're constantly immersed with some of these issues that are presented. Like, okay, slavery, Holocaust, the Crusades, the genocide of the American Indian. I mean, those are some issues that we've faced throughout our years that have had huge historical influence that really, have we got over those issues yet?
No.
No, absolutely not. We have not. And so, can we? Do you feel we can? I mean, the staple answer would be saying, yeah, oh, absolutely we can. But can we truly? You know? And again, it starts here in this room, okay? Everybody who's in this room, whether you're here for extra credit or you're here just to see if I mess up or whatever it may be, you know, that's honestly the key, okay? If you're hearing this message, then I believe that we've moved on a little bit further. The most dangerous weapon we possess, though, is assumptions. Okay? That's the most dangerous weapon we can have as an individual. We can assume. Okay? So, Seth may have no money at all, but I assume, because he's dressed like he is, that he has a very important job. Okay? Is that a bad assumption to make? I don't know him. Say I don't know him. What if I make that assumption? Okay? It's an assumption that you make. I have some different examples here as well. A group of friends at college consisting almost entirely of individuals from the same race or ethnicity. How many times do you see that happen? Where we have a mingling of certain groups, and yet we are afraid to kind of branch out of that. You know, that's that assumption that, okay, well, just because it's this group over here, and I'm going to pick on you guys, okay? Just because this is the foreign group here, okay? This is a foreign group here, and we don't want to sit by the foreign group because we're afraid that we're not going to understand them. We're afraid we're not going to understand how they speak, how their interactions with them. That's a bad assumption, okay? I've got to know these two very well, and you know, that's a really bad assumption. Maya and I talk all the time, and you know, I can just break that assumption and say, you know what, I'm going to talk to her. You know, it doesn't matter that language barrier. I'm going to find a way to communicate. and that's kind of what we do there. People use terminologies, and this one really bothers me, and my wife is actually in the room here, and my wife and I have raised our daughter with this next statement I'm going to make, and I believe that it's really impacted who she is and impacted who we are as well. But people using terminology such as retarded or stupid, that refers to those individuals, so you're automatically taking that group of people who struggle with mental illness or struggle with developmental delays, and you are downgrading them and putting them in their own area. You're segregating them out, and that's wrong, okay? Avoiding friends when they find out they're homosexual. I heard Sammy mention the LGBTIQ. What are you guys doing with that?
We're doing a safe zone training.
Safe zone training with that. That's awesome. I mean, that's great. I actually had the opportunity to kind of help a friend go through this. My best friend in high school, all the way through high school, never really had any inkling at all that he was gay. Last year of high school, he came out to me that he was gay, and it just devastated him. And it was kind of a chance for me to go, you know what, I've never thought about this before. And so now that open mentality, I am absolutely open to speaking with anybody about who they are. I mean, that becomes, again, you're that unique individual. You offer your own mentality to our society. Then my last example here is soon-to-be husbands making assumptions that wives always clean, cook, or take care of the children. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I make that assumption at my house, I probably wouldn't live there very long. And that's, that's a mentality that you see. And, a lot of people often go back to, oh, well, that's that, and I've heard this said before, that's that redneck mentality. That's something that you hear back, that's exactly what happens out in western Kansas. And that's wrong. We are in an era today that we need to push our women past that glass ceiling. Our women need to take higher positions. And we have to start encompassing the female gender as equal. And right now we're still not there. I mean, there's still a huge inequality when it comes to that gender gap in working force and America in general. So we have to move past that as well. These types of discriminations are occurring around us constantly, and these are absolutely an enemy to everybody. So how can these be overcome? We've talked about a lot of different things. We must work against these kind of constantly, but I believe that if we do it through the musical composition, if we start to look at diversity as musical composition, we can get there. And I'm going to explain to you a little bit about that. Music has kind of been resonating with me. For those of you who don't know, I came to Colby Community College on a music scholarship. I sang in Sunflower Singers, and I was in the jazz band, and I was also in concert band. I play a plethora of musical instruments, from guitar to bass guitar to piano to drums to trumpet, you name it. I have played it. And so music has that kind of, like I said, it just has a deep meaning for me. Back when I was in college, and it still blows my mind a little bit about this. Okay, when I was a student here a few years ago, just like what Briley thinks, I'm 34, she told me the other day, and I'm like, wow, okay, I apparently need to start getting my hair colored. So, just a few years ago, I came to college here, and I started to kind of get this idea and this mindset that music is tied to emotions, okay? So, Felicia, if you're cleaning, what type of music do you listen to? Depends on the mood. Absolutely. Okay, I'm very much the same way, okay? If I am in a kind of a somber type mood, I'm a very much rock person. I love rock, I love classic rock, I love any type of rock. If I am in a very light, relaxed, kind of want to study, learn mood, I listen to classical music. that helps me keep focus, okay? If I am happy, I'm just kind of hanging out, I'll listen to everything from rap to country. It doesn't matter, like I'm every genre. But it goes along with my emotions. So when I was in school here, I kind of took that idea and said, you know what? I think music can be tied to emotions. And I did some studying on that. And as I've advanced in my education, I took that one step further and said, what if music can be so inspiring that we can help change a diversity content? So I wrote a paper on this a little bit this last semester, and that's kind of what I want to talk to you. What I want to talk to you a little bit about. A few years ago, I had a youth minister. I have a really good friend of mine who's a youth minister. And he told me that music can inspire a person so much at that time that you have no idea that it's happening at that moment. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, 25 years ago, I was sitting in a stadium. I remember exactly what was going on. He goes, Hell's Bells by AC/DC was playing. And I remember that. He goes, when I came to college to be a youth minister, when he went to college to be a youth minister, he heard that song come on the radio and consciously, without even thinking about it, started singing that song. And everybody in the car stopped and looked at him and he said, what's wrong? He said, well, you're singing every word of that song. He's like, I didn't even know I was doing it. That's how much impact music has. He said he could remember the smell of things around him, he could remember the people around him, he could remember the conversation, he could remember the words that were going on because it relates to music. And that is, I mean, honestly, think about some of the most fun times in your life. Do you remember the music that was going on around you? Absolutely. You know what? I may struggle sometimes to remember my anniversary date, but I do remember the song I walked down the aisle to, and I do remember our first dance song. And that's just something that I remember those. That's something that's there. We know it can have an impact. So advancing with this thought, I like to take an opportunity to emotionally connect the topic of diversity with music. So here's a guitar, okay? Everybody's seen a guitar before? This one's really dirty. This is kind of my travel guitar. I get to take it everywhere with me, and it's got holes and stuff, but it's, it's trusty. But think about this guitar, okay? What does this guitar have? Okay? What are the pieces of the guitar? The body,
The strings.
the strings,
The neck.
the neck,
The frets.
the frets. What's this called up here? Anybody? The top of it. Way to be, Jeff. That's how I nailed it. The head, okay? This is a lot like a human being, okay? There's a body, there's a neck, there's a head, okay? What makes the guitar work?
Strings.
All of it.
Yes,
The hollow body. See, they heard me talking about this. So, what makes the guitar work is not the strings, it's not the neck, but to make that sound is right here. Okay, it comes from the hollow body. So that is my challenge to people. Okay, is we have to start thinking as ourselves in this frame of mind. I had the chance to teach some GED classes in the evening, and I was discussing this with the students one night, and I said, we walked in at the class and we were learning about some algebraic functions, and they're like, we can't get this, we can't do this. And I said, no, that is the wrong mentality to have. You can do this. So I explained this to them. I said, think about this as a musical instrument. If you come in as an open mind and have a hollow body, you're receptive to everything that's going on. If you come into this as a block of wood, that's all you have is a block of wood. Any of this, you're not going to hear that, okay? You're not going to hear those tones. And it's the same thing that goes for diversity. You're not going to hear those tones if you go in with, I've always known this, I'm a block of wood. If you go in hollow, you're in a way better situation. Okay, so the next thing is think about yourself, and this is very, very important. You have to think about yourself as an individual note, okay? Individual notes is what makes up a symphony. Okay, and it's one note at a time that makes up a symphony. And that is crucially important. She's her own note, she is her own note, she's her own note, she's her own note, and it's for everybody else, it's the same thing, okay? Here's the thing. If Riley's here playing this note, and that's her note that she's playing, and then all of a sudden Jetta comes in here and is playing this note, does that sound good to anybody? No. Okay. Or, okay, so now we have everybody in here, they're doing their own thing and they're playing their own notes and it sounds something like this. That's not music. That is not music. That is just literally jamming on this guitar. It's the same thing in society. If we all are just jamming and we're not meshing, if we're not meshing as a community college, if we're not meshing as Colby Community College, and we just start jamming our notes, we're going to be into some issues. And so that's my challenge. Think about yourself as an individual note. Think about yourself as somebody who can play, you know, a tone with somebody else. Like that, okay? And that will help move you past the diversity that we have. So, guys, that's really all I have for my presentation. Anybody have any questions? Anything that you guys want to talk about? Anything that you might want to ask?
I'd like to make a statement then because I really like the way you integrated and talked about music early on and you actually showed people what you meant by that and demonstrated it. I thought that idea to connect the two was really neat.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. And again, you know, it's everybody loves music, and that was my kind of inspiring force. You know, I'm not going to listen to some mashed up stuff on the radio. You don't want to listen to that. You want to listen to something beautiful. And again, I explained that before, that all those different characteristics, different nationalities, different religions, different racial makeup, different gender, that's what makes us us. Okay? Then if we can start working together with that, if we can think about that as an individual tone, we are going to be better off as, again, I really just want to direct that to here, to community college. I think we do a great job there, but as always, there's always room for improvement. Nobody's ever perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. Anything else, guys? Anybody else want to ask any questions or anything? No? Okay. All right, well, thank you for your time, guys. We appreciate it. And I'll